So, hi everyone. So, today I would like to start with the second part, right? So, previously I have covered uh the previously I have covered the one type of MCQ kind of question. So, today I would like to cover the another kind of another kind of MCQ based question. So, today video all about that. So, let's share my screen and show you. Okay, let's go for that. So before starting that, I show you I have certified Azure Developer Associate, right? So I pass in 10 December 2020. This is my credential certificate. You can verify that. And so let's go for that. So this is right. So this is another kind of question, right? This so you can go website, and if you go here, right, click here the free access of like Azure examination. So it will open that link, right? So you can open this. So you can see here, right? You are deploying an Azure App Service web app. You need to ensure zero downtime during the deployment, which features should you use, right? So blue-green deployment, right? Blue-green deployment where we can use, right? So blue-green deployment actually is for the it for not for zero downtime, right? So so and for deployment, it will create like that, right? Deployment slot with the swipe. So this is the correct, right? Deployment slot with swipe, right? Because in the staging, right, deployment, let you deploy a new version, right? So then it will swipe into the production during the swipe. So Azure warm up into new version before routing the live traffic, right? So it will take a zero downtime during this, right? So this is B is correct, right? Blue green like blue green with the traffic manager managing route between different region entirely separate service, right? This is not for a single, right? So AKS Azure Kubernetes Service rollout update is for the not Azure service, right? So this is not also Azure Container Instance Policy, right? Restart policy control crash behavior, not for that, right? So B is correct. Let's go for the next. So Azure function run into the 2 a.m. This is very good question and very important question as well. So this is how you would be at your setting, right? And Azure function need to run every day as 2 a.m. UTS, right? So which trigger and cron expression should you use, right? So first instance is second, minute, and hour. So it seems to be correct, right? Second, minute, and hour, and day, right? Like that. 2 a.m., right? So timer trigger 0 and minute, right? This is not correct. And HTTP trigger is also not correct, right? HTTP trigger for that no build schedule, right? You need to external scheduler logic app. It will call, right? Queue trigger. Queue trigger is basically react the messaging. It cannot reschedule itself on job, right? So first is correct. Let's put to for. So you have a durable functional workflow activities. A must be complete before B starting, right? And B start and B both are complete before the C. So this is for sequencing, right? Sequencing means A, B, and C, right? Like that. So complete before B. right? Like the B before complete A and B before complete C, right? So you can see they making a chain, right? Chaining kind of thing they make it. So functional chain is correct option, right? Fall in, fall out. This is for parallel, right? If there is any parallel request going on that, so that is for that. Function chain is correct, and monitoring pattern is not for it is for polling and external thing, right? Async API is for the endpoint long running operation, not for chaining activities, right? So function chain is correct. Let's go for the three question, right? So fourth question is that like slot, right? You also need to read the connection string differ as per the environment, Dave string prod, right? Where the best place to store is slot has own value, right? App setting is source, right? So best place is like time slot, right? So you need to redeploy, right? Same file environment differ per slot. Without redeploy, it will not run, right? This is not bad. App service setting mark as slot setting, right? That is correct, right? And Azure key vault secret, right? Azure key vault a single secret for same slot, right? Single share the same slot could be multiple secret, but app service slot setting simpler and designed for this, right? Environment variable for virtual machine share infrastructure. You don't directly control that virtual machine, right? So this is correct. D. Let's go for the next question. You deploy an Azure container instance and need to restart automatically if the container processes crash, but not for restart when the complete successful, right? Which restart policies you use, right? Always means what was that? Always restart even successful completion, not for ask, right? So this is wrong, right? Never restart even after crash, right? So this is also not fulfilled, right? On failure, on not a on failure is the correct restart container when if process exists non-zero code crash, right? A successful exit code zero leave the container stop. This is correct. On success is not valid ACI restart policy, right? So on failure is correct. So this is sixth question, very good question, right? This is very good and application use question, right? And app service is it's say high CPU, right? Experience a high CPU, right? You want to automatically add instance when CPU exceeds 70% and remove when below 30%, right? What should we configure, right? Vertical scaling, it is not for vertical scaling, right? So vertical scaling means change VM size S1 to S2, right? Does not add or remove instances, right? This is not correct. Auto scaling slot is this is correct, right? Auto scaling, if you have CPUs and add CPU and like that, CPU auto scaling means CPU greater than 70%, right? So you can make setting add, right? And if CPU less than 30%, right? So remove, right? Like that you can make your thing, right? So auto scaling is correct. So deployment slot and load balancing is not correct because deployment slot are not for dynamic instance count, right? And load balancer and health props, right? So load balancer distribute traffic, not trigger auto scaling, right? So let's go for seven. So which Azure function bind allow the function write multiple message to the service bus without looping, right? Single output binding with the async, right? So this is correct. A, right? Input binding with service bus client, right? So this is not correct because you can see here, right? So input binding service bus client for read message does not write multiple efficiently, right? So you need a loop here, right? You need loop. Without loop, they ask, right? So input so see trigger binding like batching. Batching means batching receive many messages at once, but they ask write multiple messages, right? So this is also wrong. And HTTP output binding with service header, right, is not a valid way to send multiple HTTP binding for HTTP response. So this is correct for this. You need to containerize apps scale to zero when ideal and support ERA-based scaling, which Azure service is best fit. Okay? So AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service can run, but you can manage Kubernetes cluster yourself. Right, more complex. There is not best fit for that. Best fit they ask, right? You can use that also, right? But this is not very fit. Azure Container Instance, right, does not scale to zero. Right, they ask scale to zero. Right. So this is also not a good, right? Azure Container App is correct. So because it will scale to zero and ideal perfect for event to event, right? Azure Container is container, right? Under support container, but does not scale to zero. Always run at least one instance, right? So this is correct based on the format. So our distributed function need to run and parallel task. Wait for all of them begin agree. Parallel task I already tell you, right? So fall in, fall out. Function channel not HTTP for monitoring for this is not monitoring but a poll and exit condition, right? Async is for the API exposing long run HTTP request. And a function channel for a sequential not parallel, right? Fall in, fall out. It's correct. So you want to app service always use same instant before the user session, right? Which is getting always on, right? Always on is not for the setting, right? ARR, infinity session, right? So this is correct cookies to stick a user same instance for the session required. So A is correct, right? Not a this A. So an Azure function is the trigger by the HTTP request must be run in the 10 minute, which hosting plan support this, right? So for by default 5 minute is right. For 10 minute they ask the premium one is correct. You need to background a job Azure Sovereign to Azure queue which trigger, right? Azure queue, right? The queue storage. This is the correct one. So you can see the queue storage trigger means they ask, right? This is correct. So, so you can also give, I have added more than 60 question, right? So you can go and like go and because based on the short timing, right? So I can add all this question in the next video if you want. So you can ping and comment. You need like more question explanation, right? So you can comment. So thank you guys. Thank you watching my video. Please do like and subscribe my channel for more information, right? And if you have any doubt for related that, right, career, all this thing, because this is very good material, right? I have posted internet during my preparation. I always like follow this kind of steps, so I crack in the first time, right? If you also wanted to crack in the first time, right? So you can follow this strategy, and if you success, please put your success story in that comment. Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you for watching my video.